assuming that you now know how to simplify fractions by reducing them, by finding the prime factors that are common to both the numerator and denominator, dividing those out and simplifying them, then let's talk about the easy stuff first. The easy things, the easy operation with fractions are multiplying and dividing. The harder is adding and subtracting, okay? So the easy is multiplying and dividing fractions. Pretty simple rule here for multiplying fractions. If you have something like 2/3 times 4/5. 2/3 times 4/5. I'm looking to see, I don't know if you can read that green very well. I'm going to switch over to red. I know it's easier. 2/3 times 4/5. The simple rule for multiplying fractions is multiply straight across. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. Exactly. 2 times 4 is equal to 8, and 3 times 5 is equal to 15. So multiply straight across. 2/3 times 4/5 is equal to 8/15. Want another easy one? All right, let me give you another easy one. How about negative 1/3 times 2/7? Okay? Negative 1/3 times 2/7. All right, so you can't forget. When you multiply unlike signs, you get a what? Negative is correct. So negative times positive is negative. Okay, multiply straight across. 1 times 2 is 2, and 3 times 7 is 21. So that's easy, right? Now, I told you, you're going to have a lot of times you're going to have to be able to simplify these. So let me give you one where you have to simplify. So how about negative 2/3 times negative 7/10, okay? So negative 2/3 times negative 7/10, negative times negative comes out to be positive. When you multiply like signs, you get a positive, all right? 2 times 7 is 14, 3 times 10 is 30, but before you circle that, okay, negative times negative is positive. Before you circle that, you ought to consider, can it be reduced? And the answer is, of course. You know 2 goes into that and 2 goes into that, so you can take a 2 out of both of them. 2 into 14 goes 7 times. 2 into 30 goes 10 times. Before you circle that, just think, is there anything else that goes into both of those? I did the same thinking up here and up here. And 8, of course, is 2 times 2 times 2. 15 is 3 times 5. 21 is 3 times 7. So there's no common factors in any of these. And so we circle it when we're done. So get in the habit of doing this for me too. Circle your final answer so that we know, hey, we're done, and you're saying this can't be reduced, this is the most simplified form. If you circle this answer right here, it'll be -1 on the test because you didn't simplify, okay, or -2 or whatever. So make sure that you completely simplify. It doesn't have to, I don't even have to say simplify your answers. Whenever you figure something out, never leave an answer that can be simplified, always simplify it, okay? Let me see if I can think of one more example. Oh, by the way, when I divided out, when I got to this, I recognized 14/30 can be reduced. I actually could have done it along the way, and you need to get in the habit of looking for this too. This will save you a little trouble. You can look here, you know you're multiplying straight across, and so everything on top stays on top, everything on the bottom stays on the bottom. And when I saw this common factor of 2, I could have divided it out at this point. Take it out there, and now I would have just 1 times 7 is 7, 3 times 5 is okay, so y'all weren't going to tell me I had this wrong, huh? Okay, so 14/30, you can take a 2 out of each one of those. So you take a 2 out of the 14, you get 7, take a 2 out of the 30, and you get 15. All right, all right. I bet you were sitting there the whole time watching this video wondering if I'd ever figure that out. All right, so the final answer should have been 7/15. But what I was saying was you could take a 2 out early on and have 1 times 7, and then 3 times 5, and 15. You can divide it out before you even get to this point right here. And when you're dealing with real big numbers, a lot of times it's advantageous to do it that way. All right, let me see. Okay, so that's multiplying fractions. All right, dividing fractions works like this. To divide by a fraction, you invert and multiply, and that's it. If you want to divide by a fraction, you just flip it over and multiply. So 3/4 divided by 2/3. If you had to do 3/4 divided by 2/3, what you say is this is exactly the same thing as 3/4 times 3/2. So you invert the second one, the one that you're dividing by. When you divide by a fraction, you invert it and multiply. So now, so what I'm saying is this is why I'm saying it's easy, because multiplying fractions, you just go straight across, boom. Dividing fractions, you just invert and multiply, and so if you can do this, then you can do just one more step and you can do that. So that's why I'm saying both of these are easy. Whereas when adding fractions, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to be able to add fractions. All right, so flip these over, go straight across. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 2 is 8. All right, and what if I would have said, hey, negative 3/4? How about negative 3/4 divided by 2/3? You would have said negative 3/4 times 3/2 is negative 9/8, okay? So the same rules, of course, whenever you multiply or divide, unlike signs, you get a negative. Like signs, you get a positive. Okay, let me see if I can do anything to make this more complicated for you. How about 3/5 divided by 7/10? 3/5 divided by 7/10. When you divide by a fraction, invert and multiply. So you say that's 3/5 times 10/7. Okay, times. So invert and multiply, flip it over. By the way, some of you were asking about the reciprocal. When we talk about the reciprocal of 7/10, it's 10/7. The reciprocal, you just flip something over like that, okay? So 3/5 divided by 7/10 is equal to 3/5 times 10/7. Multiply this out, you get 30/35, and then you reduce it. Or, what I recommended to you, is go ahead and take that 5 out now, and you get 3 times 2, which is 6, over, and all you got left is a 1 here, 7. All right, 6/7. And again, if you had done 30/35, you would have taken out a 5, and you'd end up with 6/7. It's the same thing. Okay, ready to try some of these? Let's see. How about, so here's some problems for you to work. Number 1, negative 2/3 times negative 4/5. Number 2. All right, so I'm writing them and I'm reading them out loud so you can play back the video if you can hear me. Negative 1/5 times positive 10/11. 3. 4/3 divided by 12/7. Number 4. 2/5 divided by negative 10/12. And one more. Last one would be 3/4 divided by 6. Let's just do 3/4 divided by 6, see if you can figure that out. All right? So those 5 problems right there, do those real quick, take a picture of it, turn it in.